Alrighty, welcome to the Nerdery. Today, our top 5 video will be about Io's favorite comedy films. And one thing I'll note real quick about comedy films is I feel like they don't get enough credit for being good movies. Because so many times people will be like, oh, I like comedies, but this drama or these dramas or these movies are in my top 10. It's like, yeah, dramas are good. The point of a comedy is to get you to laugh. So comedies should be gauged more on how much they got you to laugh
Right.
versus was it the best movie of all time or anything like that. How do you feel about that, Io?
Yeah, I absolutely believe that they don't get enough credit just for their ability to, change your mood in, certain situations. And, sometimes if I'm feeling a little down, I'll go back and watch a comedy movie and, just the laugh out loud parts of it, really kind of, just kind of raises my, my mood. So yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
we've all seen a ton of comedies over the years. How
Yeah.
difficult was it for you to narrow it down to a top 5?
Oh, it was really difficult. It was really difficult because actually, to be fair, like there might have been one or two that I left off that is should have been on my top five. But I think I have a solid top five, at least for me. So um and if anything, I'll give them the ones that I left off an honorable mention.
All
Yeah.
right, why don't you start us off with your number 5?
Number five. Number five. So uh I had actually gone back and had watched a few of the movies that was on my top five list, and I realized that this was definitely it was a funny movie, but where it should have been a lot lower on my top five anyway. So I'm going to start with Black Dynamite. Black Dynamite, hilarious movie, real funny. Going back and watching it, it was a little more. It lost its luster just a little bit because the thing is, I had watched some of the other films and I was like, hold on, this is literally just beat after beat, hilarious. This one, Black Dynamite, wasn't beat up to be hilarious, but there's definitely some laugh out loud moments. You know, um, just I'm trying to think of fuck them. Yes. Yeah, man. There's that. Like, there's a guy that he was reading the uh his prompts, like, turn around. You know, and like Black Diamond was like, what is going on? Why are you doing this? You know what I mean? And there's another one where you actually saw the boom mic, it came
Yes.
down. Yeah,
All right,
you
to be
know,
clear to people who haven't seen Black Dynamite, this was a movie that didn't start off as a movie. It was actor Michael Jai White.
yeah.
Uh, you know, I can't remember how it started, but it was like he basically did it from the ground up in terms
Yeah,
of
I think what it was he had had a conversation with Quentin Tarantino on one of and I think it came from that, like, because he likes to do like the old school, like, kung fu movies, like, hey, you what I mean, shit like that, and it's like, okay, like, and then it kind of progressed from there. I think that was the genesis of the idea, but
because to be clear, back in the late 1970s, term black exploitation, it was a big genre, a big money maker.
yes,
They were
yeah,
cheap to make,
yep,
and people ate it up.
hmm,
So, growing up on those type of movies, Michael Jai White kind of wanted to do his own, just more tongue in cheek,
yeah, yeah,
kind of
yeah, yeah,
pay homage while at the same time having fun with it.
yeah,
And uh, so, if you
Def-
haven't seen it, it's a definite recommend from Io. Uh,
definitely,
It's
Definitely.
also the most recent movie on his list.
Yeah.
So even though if you watch it, you're going to be like, wow, this is really old when it's actually,
No. 2011, I think it was.
yeah.
I have to look it up. What
And
the date was.
Michael Jai White has clarified that he is making a part 2.
Is he? What? Nice. I'll definitely, go to the movie theater to see that, because I think that this one, it was good. It was very good. But my thing is, a lot of the other ones on the list have a better, the beats is a lot better. Like meaning, like is joke, 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 payoff, and so yeah, this one, like it was irreverent. It was hilarious in a lot of parts, but kind of rewatching it, I was like, okay, maybe this is shouldn't be as high as it was. It was actually in my top two, so but I was like, okay, let me kind of move it after watching it again.
Alrighty, let's move on to your number 4 favorite comedy of all time.
Number 4 favorite comedy of all time. Watching it again, it is absolutely hilarious. Lots of jokes, lots of payoff. It was punchline joke. It is just incredible. Is National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon 1. Because the fact that it has actually one in its title is kind of hilarious. Amelia Estevez, Samuel Jackson, Whoopi Goldberg, Tim Curry, William Shatner, just a slew of people, and I think it's lampooning the
It's primarily Lethal Weapon.
Lethal Weapons. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Lethal Weapon.
Primarily, yeah. But it does touch on other similar
buddy
tropes.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's just from the get-go, it kind of started out a little weak, but it, like once you got to the middle of the movie, the jokes are just coming. There's like a whole bunch of stuff happening in the background that, you can go back and watch it again and see how, there's one part with like the lady, they're in the police station, and a lady was describing an assailant that had, I don't know what he did to her, but anyway, it turned out to be Mr. Potato Head. And then later on, yeah, exactly. Then later on, they caught Mr. Potato Head, and it's just stuff like that. It's like, oh, that's a callback to this part. It's literally hilarious. Lots of funny.
Go ahead. I actually have a lot to say about this movie. I've watched it several times.
Yes. Okay. Good.
First of all, let me say back then, there were basically 2 types of parody movies. There was the Airplane Naked Gun parody movies, and then there was the Mel Brooks parody movies. Loaded Weapon is unique because it was its own flavor of parody. It did things very differently than the other 2 style of parody movies. Unfortunately, it was also very much a one and done type parody. Like no other parodies have their style of parody, which is a shame. It's not like masterclass cinema. Some of the jokes are really, really cheesy, but some of the jokes land really hard and are really good.
Yes.
There's one joke from the movie that I still use to this day because I like to steal jokes from things. And one of my favorite jokes to steal is from this movie. And it's when a woman in the police station was describing Emilio Estevez's character. And how he is a loose cannon. He is, a rule breaker. And worst of all, he is gun happy.
Yes. Yeah, I remember that. He lifts up the gun.
He was like, most of all, he is gun happy. And he pulls out a gun. Where do you get off saying that?
Oh, man, it's hilarious, man.
So I like to use that joke often where people might be like, Steve, you're such an asshole. And I'm like, where do you get off saying that? Fuck you.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I'm the nicest guy in the world. You can go fuck yourself.
Oh, man.
But there's so many jokes like this, where
yes,
Samuel
yes,
Jackson's got some sort of trauma where he can't use a gun. So every time he pulls out a gun, he starts trembling horribly. And at
yeah.
this point, both his partner and the bad guy are like, drop the gun.
Oh yeah, I remember that part. Like it was
And,
I think was it there that he did the flashback where they went back
oh,
and it was
mime.
he was a beat cop and he was a partner with Whoopi Goldberg and there's a mime holding like its finger to Whoopi Goldberg, shoot him, shoot him. I was like, what is going on? He was like,
But I will say the MVP of that movie is someone who gave it his all, and
ooh.
that is Tim Curry.
Oh, Tim Curry, yes.
No matter what movie he's in, what role he's given,
Rhythm goes.
he gives it his all.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think throughout the whole movie, he is just hilarious. Absolutely hilarious.
Yeah. Oh,
One-liners
yes.
like this persist throughout the movie. Give
Yeah,
me a
this
name.
part here had me laughing.
Aren't supposed to do that? Or another great Lovitz movie moment in the movie was when Estevez is defusing a bomb.
Oh yeah.
He goes up and he goes, "Hey, did you ever see Hot Shots?
Yes. Yeah,
You're doing this, and in Hot Shots."
Yes, yes,
On the
yes.
fact
His brother.
that Charlie Sheen, Emilio Estevez's brother,
Yeah.
also did a parody movie.
Yes.
Like not long before this one. It's like,
yeah, that one had me rolling. There's a lot of meta stuff. Another part that made me laugh with John Lovitz was that actually scene that you just showed, and he had gotten shot in the back, and he was laying on a gurney, and he was like, "Hey, man, am I going to be all right? I don't want to die." He's looking up at Samuel Jackson. He's like, "Yeah, man, you're going to be fine. You're going to be, tip top shape by tomorrow." And like then just like zip up the gurney, zip up like a coroner bag, and just throw him into the back of a, a hearse. It had me rolling, man. Just stuff like that. It just keeps going.
And this was kind of a brave role for Samuel L. Jackson to take early on in his career, because it's not that he doesn't like to do comedy. It's just, this was such a goofy comedy.
Yes, it was real goofy.
So the fact that he did this movie is a testament to the fact that he's going to take risks when he believes in something. And I'm glad he did, because this movie was so great with Samuel L. Jackson.
It was.
Danny Glover type character. And you can tell he kind of had fun with this sometimes. Like, there's certain things you only notice in a movie like this that is loaded with comedy. As you said, a movie that just hits you with joke after joke after joke. Loaded Weapon is a prime example of that. So watching it again and again, you'll see different things.
Yes.
And do you remember when they were taking a tour of the like kind of like Girl Scouts facility?
Okay.
And
yes.
The woman with the buck teeth and the pigtails was walking down the hallway with them.
Uh-huh.
And Samuel L. Jackson is just over her shoulder.
Yes,
her as they're walking during the dialogue.
Doing a face.
Character. It made no sense. There was no point to it. It was just Sam Jackson, I think, having fun.
Having fun. It was definitely hilarious. I can name so many funny parts in the movie, like where Emilio Estevez was at Samuel L. Jackson's house, and like the daughter is like hitting on Emilio Estevez, and just like in other movies, like you see her foot kind of like start touching on his leg, and then the dog it gets in on it, and then the like little brother he gets it. It's like just crazy stuff, man. It just had me laughing.
All right, let's move on to your number 3.
Number 3. Number 3 is it's definitely a legendary movie, legendary cast. Definitely has a lot of. It's a serious movie in so many ways, but in other ways, it kind of like blends in some humor in a lot of the serious tones. And anyway, so the movie is Harlem Nights.
Harlem
Yeah.
Nights, starring comedy legends Eddie Murphy and Richard Pryor, directed by Eddie Murphy in his only directorial role.
Yes, yes. And I think he did a great job. I think he did a great
Critics,
job.
the critics did not agree.
Really?
Now, the
That's
movie
crazy.
did financially okay, not as good
Yeah.
as other Eddie Murphy movies of that era.
Okay.
Critics hated the movie, and it's
Wow.
possibly why Murphy hasn't done another
Another
directorial
directorial stuff.
movie,
Yeah, I
because
mean,
they
yeah, I enjoyed the movie. Um, and I still watch it every once in a while. It has its quotable lines here and there. You know, uh, Richard Pryor. Yeah, yeah, that part. Yeah. Ah, Quick. This is a scene where Quick had they were blaming Quick for killing Arsenio Hall's brother, and there's just a bunch of funniness kind of that ensues from that. But you know, just I enjoyed it. It's I think it was directed really good. Loved Red Fox in it. Uh, you know, uh,
I think it was his last movie role before he died.
there's um I can't remember her name. There's an actress, big one. Funny thing is every time I like think about her, she her name slips my mind. Um, I mean, unfortunately, I mean, look, there's something going on. My child's mother is calling me for some reason constantly. Let me get back to you, man. Can you pause it for a little bit?
Sure.
Okay, sorry. This-
All right. While Io is gone taking his phone call, to be clear, I have not seen Harlem Nights, and I have not seen Black Dynamite. Uh, there's so many movies out there, and those two movies I actually never heard of before. Io sent me his list of top five. I, there's a third movie on his list that I haven't seen, but I have heard of the movie. I've seen brief clips of it here and there. But that's what hopefully by watching a video like this, you might say, hey, Black Dynamite does sound interesting, or I didn't know Eddie Murphy directed a movie. So even if you haven't seen some of these movies, the thing of it is, eventually you might have an afternoon where you have time to watch a movie, and you might think, hey, haven't seen Black Dynamite, sounded interesting. Parody of exploitation films made by someone who loved watching those movies. You know, I loved Kung Pao. Obviously, not a cinematic masterpiece. However, you could tell that Steve Odekirk was a big fan of kung fu movies back from the 70s that were dubbed horribly, and decided to make a movie where he puts himself into one of those movies and dubs it horribly. So, even if sometimes it's not your cup of tea, sometimes just the fact that it's made by a passionate fan of the genre, they can do it and execute it well. And comedy is a very difficult thing to do well. Um, let's not forget everybody has different tastes. Different things makes people laugh. So obviously, a comedy. That's why comedy movies usually don't make a ton of money, because it's usually geared towards one style of comedy. Somebody who loves Spaceballs might not be the same type of person who loves a movie like The Hangover. Both comedies, very, very different type of movie. You could probably say that just about any type of genre. You know, Goodfellas is obviously not going to be the same as Mystic Pizza. Both dramas, very different, appeal to a different crowd. But dramas, I would argue, are easier to bring across to a larger audience than a comedy would be. Uh, while we're waiting for Io, just to go back to, like I said, I've seen 3 of his top 5. The 2 that I have seen, one he hasn't revealed yet. The other is Loaded Weapon. To be clear, Loaded Weapon, again, not a comedy masterpiece, but it will make you laugh more than likely in many places. I would put it in my top 10 parody movies. It wouldn't be in my top 10 like comedies, but it would be in my top 10 parodies, and I've seen a lot of parodies. Because the more absurd and silly something is, the more I love it. You know, I loved the old school Space Ghost Coast to Coast because sometimes the scenarios would get more and more absurd, and I loved it, and it just made me laugh so much. I never watched Tim and Eric Awesome Show until just recently. A couple weeks ago, I watched a clip, and it just had me rolling laughing. And it's my style of humor, and I was surprised to see it ran for so many seasons as it did, and it has a very big fan base, and I just never even heard of the show before. But I mean, you'd be surprised at some of the ways comedies can open your eyes to laugh at different things. I never thought I would laugh as much as I did at a romantic comedy until I saw, because I like a lot of romantic comedies, but I never thought I would laugh as much as I did at one until I watched Just Friends. And that's a movie that tries to squeeze in a lot of jokes. And I think it does it really well, even though it's kind of shackled by its own romantic comedy. Like, you still got to move along the plot, you still got to push forward the romance. You know, romantic comedy, When Harry Met Sally, is not going to be the same as Just Friends. I really liked When Harry Met Sally, but I wasn't laughing like nonstop throughout the whole movie. You know, Just Friends had me laughing a lot. But Io's got 2 movies to go, and he needs 10 more minutes, which was unexpected. But he just messaged me saying he needs 10 minutes. He asked me to pause it. There really is no way to pause a video like this. I didn't have the heart to tell him, because obviously if he's got a phone call coming in about his family, it's important. So I will do my best to keep this video going for another 10 minutes. Hopefully he comes back. Hopefully it's not anything too serious. But, geez, I don't know. I don't know what I can fill this 10 minutes with other than just try to think about what my top 5 comedy movies would be. Obviously, since we're doing this one, I'm done a top 5 one. I suppose Airplane would have to be in the top 5. If you haven't seen Airplane, it really brought parody to a large audience. I wouldn't say it's the first parody movie, because that style of parody, obviously Mel Brooks films existed before then. However, the Zucker brothers and Abrams, they brought their style with a movie called Kentucky Fried Movie. Kentucky Fried Movie is a series of sketches with an extended portion of being a parody of like a Bruce Lee film. And that it's called A Fistful of Yen, and that section of the movie is absolutely hilarious, and it kind of created their style of parody. And they took it over to the mainstream with Airplane, a movie a lot of people have seen, a lot of people love, and I really love it. A Fistful of Yen from the Kentucky Fried Movie is really, really good. Go out of your way to see it. If they had made an entire feature length of A Fistful of Yen, then that movie would probably be in my top 5. It was that good. But because it's sort of just a small section of the movie, I feel like it disqualifies it from being in my top 5. However, Airplane, both for being hilarious and for being as important to comedy as it was, Airplane's got to be in my top 5. Also in my top 5 is my number 1 movie of all time, Monty Python and the Holy Grail. I'm not going to get into Monty Python and the Holy Grail. That's a video for another time. It's a lot of people's favorite movies. A lot of people have seen the movie, and a lot of people haven't. Monty Python and the Holy Grail is my favorite movie of all time for succeeding in making me laugh as much as it did. Back when I first saw Monty Python and the Holy Grail, I was a teenager who didn't like watching older movies because I was like, ew, old? It really opened my eyes to the possibilities of not being such a snob when it came to watching older movies. Older movies have a lot to offer people who haven't seen them yet. So, in my top 5 comedies, Airplane, Monty Python, and the Holy Grail. Another movie that would be in my top 5 comedies of all time is a movie a lot of people don't like, but I absolutely adore it, and that's Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls. I think Ace Ventura sequel is better than the original because the original was kind of hampered by the fact that Jim Carrey had to follow a lot, whereas in the sequel, he led a lot. He was able to do more what he wanted to do. He had a director that was more attuned to his style of comedy because let's not forget, the original Ace Ventura was not supposed to star Jim Carrey as Ace Ventura. It was supposed to star Rick Moranis as Ace Ventura. Obviously, they rewrote the movie quite a bit when Moranis turned it down and instead went with Jim Carrey and made it more his style of comedy. However, When Nature Calls was really him doing what he wanted, being given the freedom to do what he wanted. So he was able to squeeze pretty much some type of joke into every single scene he was in. A lot of people don't like the movie. That's fine. A lot of people aren't going to enjoy my style of comedy, which includes a lot of parodies. 2 out of the top 3 I just said are parodies. Another parody that would be in my top 5 comedy films of all time is They Came Together. They Came Together, obviously, is a parody of romantic comedies. Specifically, You've Got Mail, starring Paul Rudd and Amy Poehler. And if you're surprised there was a parody movie starring Paul Rudd and Amy Poehler that you never heard of, it's because that movie was not really advertised. It didn't really get any kind of stay in theaters. It came out when they were at the top of their careers. They're still really popular, but I mean, they were a big deal when this movie came out, and this movie got no play. And it is phenomenal how funny this parody is. And it came out at a time when parodies are garbage. Epic movie, superhero movie, terrible parodies that really kind of diluted and made the genre terrible. And They Came Together was sort of a love letter to when parodies were good. And it took on something that I felt enjoyed its time in the sun for a little too long, and that's cheesy romantic comedies like You've Got Mail. Not a bad movie. I like watching it from time to time, especially if it just happens to be on TV. But it needed to be taken down a peg, and They Came Together certainly took it down a peg. A lot of you have never heard or seen that movie. Look it up. Buy it on Amazon Prime so you can stream it or rent it. You'll probably end up buying it. Trust me, it's that good. I only saw it because Paul Rudd went on Conan O'Brien, which I never miss because I love his recurring joke of playing, I think it's Marley and Me. No, not Marley and Me. Mac and Me. A clip of Mac and Me every time he's on the show when he's trying to promote Ant-Man or whatever big movie Paul Rudd has coming out. Instead, he plays a clip of this terrible 80s movie that's a ripoff of E.T. Mac and Me. So I watched the interview, and he was there to promote They Came Together, and he showed, the fake Mac and Me clip, and then he showed the clip of They Came Together, and it was so funny. And I was like, I got to see this movie. As for my number, I rank these, but the fifth movie in my top 5 comedies. Jeez. This is a tough one. I'm on the spot here because I hadn't assembled a list at all. I'm just trying to kill the 10 minutes while Io's out. Fifth movie in my top 5 comedies of all time. I'll have to come back to it. I mean, I'm sure if I actually created a list of all my favorite movies, narrowed it down to my favorite comedies, I'm sure I'm forgetting several since this is off the top of my head. But there are some comedies I watch over and over again, and it still wouldn't make my top 5. My favorite comedy show of all time, MST3K, made a movie, but it would probably, MST3K, the movie of This Island Earth, would probably be in my top 10 comedy films. I don't know if it would be in my top 5, because it was essentially just an enhanced episode of MST3K, which I love. My favorite comedy show of all time, but I don't know. But of course, there are many comedies out there. There are comedies out there that I love that nobody else likes. Like Balls of Fury, I thought was a funny movie. Yes, it's very cheesy and very B-movie at times. But just the concept itself was enough to get my interest. And I watched it, and I laughed a lot. There are points in the movie that, yes, are a little cringy. But the funny definitely outweighs the cringe. Balls of Fury was directed by the actor who plays Junior on Reno 911. And it also stars Thomas Lennon from Reno 911. So it's got a lot of, I wouldn't say that style of comedy, but you obviously you can tell they come from a comedy background. It's got cameos from Terrence Crews, Christopher Walken's in a good portion of the movie. So yeah, I mean, it did get some play. But Balls of Fury is a movie that I really enjoyed, laughed a lot at. And if I ever bring it up to anyone, they're like, the movie was terrible. And I'm sure anyone who's watching this can think of movies that they really enjoyed that everyone else thought was crap. I thought Oscar was a great movie. And if you have no idea what Oscar is, pretty much nobody does. It's a Sylvester Stallone comedy. About him playing a gangster in like the early 1900s. Snaps Corleone or something like that. Snaps Provolone, I'm sorry. His last name is Provolone. It's not a parody movie. It's more of an homage to a certain type of comedy, but not a parody. But it's got Stallone, it's got Marissa Tomei, it's got Tim Curry. Some big names in that movie. Isabella Rossellini. But it's a movie that bombed when it came out in the theaters. Critics hated it. Moviegoers hated it. I enjoyed it. All right. Let me see how much air I filled in here from when he sent this. All right. He said, give me 10 minutes, 12 minutes ago. So I did a great job of filling in more than 10 minutes of time. But unfortunately, whatever's going on, things happen. You just gotta roll with it. I wonder how many other people have seen Harlem Nights. It looks pretty funny. Them shooting assault rifles or machine guns, Tommy guns, whatever. And one guy with just a gun giving his 2 cents, helping out. Thanks, man. And of course, quick zoom on a scene from Black Dynamite. And talking about Loaded Weapon, you know, it's not a parody movie a lot of people have seen, but I'd say a decent portion of parody movie fans have seen. I would put it in the same category as parody movies that are good that not a lot of people have seen as Top Secret, which was another parody movie. It was actually by, I think, Abrams and the Zucker brothers as well, same people who did Airplane. And it was kind of a parody of the kind of like East Germany, West Germany, you know, post-communism escape movies, I guess you could say. It's hard to describe really, but it stars Val Kilmer in the lead role. I think it's his first lead role in a movie, and it's a parody movie. Val Kilmer is not really known for doing a ton of comedies. Obviously, he did MacGruber, but that was much later on in his career. But yeah, Top Secret is a parody movie that not a lot of people have seen. It's really good. I wouldn't put it in my top 10 comedies of all time, but I've watched it several times throughout my life. It's that good. But then parody movies hit the skids. I would say post Scary Movie 3, because Scary Movie 3 I thought was decent. After that, I mean, Meet the Spartans had a couple funny moments, but that was the best of a bad crop of parody movies that came out. Oh, such garbage. They weren't made with love. They were made with money. I'll put it that way. Can't think of any recent parody movies. I mean, there was a show on TV called Angie Tribeca, which was really good, and it really harkened back to the days of good parody, starring the actress who played April on Parks and Rec. Can't remember the actress's name, but it was basically a parody show of like Law and Order type show, or Law and Order SVU, more like. Yeah, it's called Angie Tribeca. I watched the first 2 seasons. I want to say there was 3 seasons, but it was really funny. Don't get me wrong. It's just there's only so much time to watch so many things. Io sent me his list a week ago. I could have used some of that time to watch the 3 movies on his list I didn't see. I just didn't have time. There's no time. And now I've just got sort of dead air as I wait for Io to come back. He's well exceeded the 10 minutes. Obviously, again, something's come up with this family. It's going to take precedent. I just don't know how much time to give him. I'm afraid I'm going to have to reveal his last 2 top 5 favorite comedies, and then I will put an end to the stream. All right. So, no more waiting. His number 2, another movie I haven't seen. It's Major Payne. A lot of people have seen it. A lot of people love it. I prefer Damon Wayans and Blank Man myself. One thing I read was that even though a lot of critics obviously didn't like this movie, a lot of fans do love this movie. Damon Wayans gives it his all as a critic. And they said that if he didn't, the movie wouldn't have worked at all, because Damon Wayans gave the role his all. The movie worked, even if it wasn't their cup of tea. And his #1 movie of all time, comedy movie, is Coming to America. A great movie. If you want, a lot of people have seen Coming to America. If you want to learn more about what it was like behind the scenes of that movie, there's a show on Netflix called The Movies That Made Us. And you see up at the top there, Coming to America is one of the episodes of the series. And it's really, really interesting how the production side of that movie went. But on screen, the movie had a lot of great moments. This is one of my favorite moments, like in all movies. Just let your soul glow. So absurd. Jerry curls back in the 80s were a big thing. And you had to keep them moist nonstop. And of course, my name is Peaches, and I'm the best. When him and our Eddie Murphy's character Prince Akeem and Arsenio Hall's character are sort of like at a club, sort of speed dating. They go through a lot of dates, and this is one of them. The pair of twins who are rappers. I do appreciate that they kind of knocked on religion a bit here. And a singer, Sexual Chocolate. Terrible, terrible singer. Coming to America was definitely unique in that Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall played a lot of different characters. But yeah, I'm gonna have to put a button in this. I don't know when Io's coming back, so hopefully everything is okay. And thank you all for watching. And I hope you have a great day.